I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, July the 30th, brought to you in part by Vitalix. Vitalix is committed to leading the way in how controlled, consistent nutrition is delivered to almost all species of livestock. Get the blue tub, go to Vitalix.com. Kansas, and Kansas is where it's at. I'll tell you what, right now, the Flint Hills are busy with guys shipping their yearlings off of those grass pastures. They were only out there for 90 days, but they had fantastic gains on that blue stem out there, and it's always fun. I haven't been able to go this year out to a bunch of shippings with my buddy Jimmy Craig or any of the others, but been pretty busy. But I'm also in Kansas, but not in the Flint Hills, in Dodge City, Kansas, for the Cattle U event. Going to be speaking on a marketing panel with John Campbell and Bim Nelson and Jerry Nine on Friday morning. Looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun, and that's a big event and a lot of action going on around Dodge City here late in the week. Also on Thursday, we had more fat cattle sales in Kansas than we did any of the other regions. So they moved some cattle a buck higher, but still at 120. We would have thought we'd have gained more ground than that, but still, moving some cattle out of Kansas. And in the southern plains, I'll tell you what, there's just no pen space. I'll tell you what, they are full of cattle right now. Hardly any places to go, especially your corporate yards are slam full. And they've been some of the more aggressive buyers of feeder cattle the last few weeks. It's because they see what's coming. I mean, they know they've got people that look into that, and they are watching this market, and they think that it's a good time to get in. And a lot of these cattle will kind of work if you can keep the death loss down and keep your cost of gains cheap. But also in your sales in Kansas, my gosh, your biggest sales on Thursday were all in Kansas. And some of your more seasonal type sales, not necessarily your high volume sales, but your seasonal sales that sit close to the Flint Hills. I mean, that's the evil there, being in the middle of the Flint Hills. That's a great place to be, a wonderful place to live and to have an auction market, but it's going to be very seasonal, because when those cattle are turned out, you're not going to get many receipts, but when they come off, you've got the opportunity to get them. And I'm going to share some of the quotes with you, and it looked like they sold just as good or better, depending on what the shrink was and the way up in your sales there, as they did the direct movement that moved most of your Flint Hills cattle. Well, let's look at your board on Thursday. August live cattle futures down 57 at 122.50, and then it came off of your big gains that we saw Monday, but still $1.50 to $2 higher than they were last week. October live cattle down 37 cents at 128.15, and you go on your back months of your live cattle down just 2 cents to down 27, but all downers on your feeder cattle too. August feeder cattle down $1.67. And after our big gains that got everybody so excited and made everybody kind of lose their minds in your Monday sales on your feeder cattle, your board is kind of slacked off all the rest of the week and down $1.67. That's a pretty stiff loss there on Thursday. 158.50. That's taking back most all of the gains that we saw early in the week. September down $1.50 at 161.95. Your back months down 85 to down 137, but they still look pretty handsome out there. Your fat cattle trade, we had the biggest day of fat cattle trade on Thursday, and we did establish the market finally, but we haven't moved near enough to be a robust market, if you ask me. But Iowa sold 5,100 head on Thursday, confirmed 11,300 head for the week. Live sales, more of a narrow range from 122.5 to 124. Dress sales from 195 to 201. Nebraska had 8,000 head on Thursday, only 15,500 head for the week, so we would expect some more trade on Thursday, and likely there was some after hours trade on Thursday that will go into the weekly, and maybe a little bit of cleanup sales on Friday. But live sales in Nebraska in a narrow range from 122 to 123, and dress sales from 195 to $2. And your northern plains and the Midwest and your fat cattle market was kind of unevenly steady, not too much one way or the other. We thought for sure early in the week after the big games on Monday that we'd have a higher market. Well, we did gain in the Southern Plains, so we closed that gap just a little bit because the Northern Plains has been running at a premium to the Southern Plains here for several weeks. Kansas, like I said, had the biggest movement on Thursday, confirmed 8,900 head, but still only 11,500 head for the week. Mostly a 120, but a few up to 123.50 as you move up closer north. And dress sales all at 196. Those were a buck higher than last week. Texas, 3,800 head, only 6,100 head for the week, and all the sales were live in Texas at 120, and that was a buck higher also. Box beef cutout values higher again, and man, did they not only bottom out last week and find some stability, they've just kind of launched back up there. And remember, we noted about the big movement a week ago. But choice cuts 275.22 up 206. Select up 70 cents at 256.82. Your slaughter running at a pretty good clip, and we're hoping for a big Saturday. If we could get another good Saturday like we had last week, that would go a long ways to getting a robust harvest and keeping things cleaned out. But 477,000 through Thursday, that's 10,000 more than last week and 3,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction laid on Thursday afternoon at 153.10. That was up 92 cents. So kind of caught back up and had some awful good sales, including Pratt. But I don't consider Pratt to be in the Flint Hills, but you can throw a rock to it from there. But winter livestock and Pratt, 2,900 head, not a huge movement, but better than I expected whenever you think that next week winter livestock's having all their big specials. In Pratt, next Thursday, they're having that Cattlemen's Hall of Fame sale. They'll have a huge run there in Pratt, mostly all grass yearlings. Then they're going to come around on Friday, and they're going to have their High Plains video there from winter livestock. And then on Saturday, we're going to be there. I'm going to be back. I'm in Dodge now. I'm going to be back in Dodge the end of next week for the King of the Ring auctioneer contest and the big special that's going to be held on Saturday in Dodge City. Probably have 10 or 12,000 head of green yearlings coming through the ring there. That's going to be fun to watch them. Going to be fun to judge those auctioneers. Going to go to the Dodge City Days Rodeo and maybe even play some golf with the guys on Friday afternoon. But looking forward to that event. But 2,900 head preceding all those specials in Dodge City and Pratt. But still, this past Thursday, feeder steers steady to $2 higher, feeder heifers $3 to $5 higher, and they had a whale of a sale last week. Stick out deal in Pratt, 61 head, 906 pound steers bring $157.50. Farmers and ranchers livestock in Salina, Kansas, which would be at the north end of the Flint Hills there. And I wouldn't necessarily consider Salina to be, square in it, but sure up there in the edge. 3,500 head at Farmers and Ranchers livestock there. Feeder steers $1 to $6 higher. Other classes were not really well tested. Stick out deal in Salina, 124 head, 834 pound steers bring $160.25. How about El Dorado livestock auction there in El Dorado, Kansas? That's one of those seasonal sales that sits square right in the middle of the Flint Hills. If you've got cattle turned out in the summertime, early summer, and they've got an El Dorado address, that helps them because everybody know their Cottonwood Falls, places like that, are square in that Flint Hills, and those are where those cattle really perform the best whenever you put them on feed. But awful good sale, 2,800 head of feeders, so plus there at the sale barn El Dorado on Thursday. And I looked at the automated market report, and I'm showing it to you right here. Your feeder steers sure look $2 higher, and that's where your best tested weights were. And I counted over 25 straight loads of yearling feeder steers, mostly off grass and out of the Flint Hills right there in El Dorado. 887 head of the 8-weight steers averaged 843 at 153.60. So selling well into the 8s at 153.60, And those wouldn't be your absolute best cattle that were turned out in the Flint Hills. Guys that buy those cattle direct know where they're at, and they go in there and sop those up. So likely those cattle brought as much or more than they would have brought any time during the marketing of those Flint Hill cattle right there at El Dorado at the sale barn. 664 head of the 9-weight steers averaged 936 at 145.87. Pretty good clip on those too. Don't have to be in the Flint Hills, don't have to be in the central part of the U.S. You can be out east, Bluegrass Stockyard South, Stanford, Kentucky. They can sell them out there, and you got to put a lot of wheels under them to get them somewhere to feed guys. But 67 head, 757 pound steers in Stanford, Kentucky bring 158.80. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your Zach Tran top quote for the day come out of Mitchell Livestock in Mitchell, South Dakota. 2,500 head there plus. A stickout deal was 80 head, 832 pound, thinner flesh, drought-stricken steers at 163.50. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.